Hey guys, it's Destiny, and today we are going to be going over Tribbie or Mydei, which one is the better choice for you. And of course, I'd love to know in the comments down below which one you are personally leaning more towards, or if you're actually considering skipping all of them potentially for Castorice or Anaxa. Lastly, if you enjoy videos like these, do make sure to subscribe, leave a like to support the video, and now let's get straight into it. So here we have Tribbie or Mydei, and I do have a lot of sustains on the screen. This is just primarily because whatever sustain you end up using is more so dependent on just what team you end up going with. Since Tribbie is a supportive character, she could be paired up with a lot of damage dealers, and as a result, you could end up using a wide variety of sustain options just depending on the team. I thought though we can just start off with Tribbie, and I have gone over Tribbie in previous videos, but just to give a quick overview of what she provides, she is going to provide all type res pen with her skill, which is very valuable for just universally being able to increase the damage output of a team. And on top of that, she's also going to be able to activate her zone when she uses her ultimate, and this will increase enemies' damage taken by 30% as well. So overall, both of these combined are very powerful when it comes to just being able to highly amplify the damage output of a team. She also, of course, has her follow-ups within her kit, which can help out in the case of, let's say you're using her on a follow-up team with Fei Xiao. This can help out with flying Aureus stacks, advancing forward Topaz if you are using her. In the case of Herta, she can assist with stacking more interpretation onto enemies, as well as also generating more energy for Herta. And of course, Tribbie can be paired on varieties of teams, but she does get a bit more benefit if the main damage dealer you're using does have some AoE-centric attacks, as this now allows her to regenerate more energy for herself, as she is able to regenerate energy when allies attack enemies. So that's also very useful in the case of just getting her ultimate faster. Let's say you're using Dance 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 and you want to utilize her ultimate quite often. So you can also be able to advance forward the team on top of her current buffs, and that is also something to keep in mind. Also, it is worth noting that when Tribbie's zone is active, whenever an ally target attacks enemies, for every one target hit, it will deal an instance of additional quantum damage to that enemy based off of Tribbie's max HP to the target that has the highest HP among hit targets. This is really nice in the case if you are using an AoE damage dealer, since the additional quantum damage can just help out in the case of that AoE damage dealer being able to deal just a bit more damage now to the enemy that has the highest HP. So that's also very useful that Tribbie does have within her kit, and overall she just has very powerful buffing capabilities. She's also able to deal a nice little bit of damage herself, which is helpful in the case of having another source of damage output on the team. Now, when it comes to Mydei, he is also HP scaling. Both Tribbie and Mydei are HP scaling characters. In the case of Mydei, he utilizes his charge in order to deal a bunch of damage onto enemies. Once he reaches 100 charge within battle, he will enter his Vendetta state, which will now allow him to unleash Kingslayer Be King every time it is his turn. And then whenever he gets 150 charge, he will consume this in order to unleash Godslayer Be God, which is a very powerful attack that he does have to deal a massive amount of damage onto enemies. Mydei is able to gain charge through ways such as losing his own HP, which will happen when he uses his first skill initially, and also when he uses Kingslayer Be King, he will also reduce his HP from that as well. He can gain charge from his ultimate, and he also can gain charge from enemies attacking him, as he is now losing more HP, which now results in him gaining more charge. What's really cool about Mydei in particular is when he enters the Vendetta state, he will actually set his defense to 0, which what's nice about this is now enemies will deal more damage onto him, which now results in you gaining more charge. And what's even better is that Mydei can also basically revive himself. Whenever he is hit with a fatal hit, he will actually survive instead. And with one of his traces, Earth and Water, this will allow him to retain the Vendetta state when he is hit with a fatal blow up to 3 times per battle. But then beyond that, when you run out of Earth and Water, he still is able to revive himself. It's just that he will exit the Vendetta state when he does so. Mydei will also be able to nicely increase his own crit rate based on how much HP he has, and since he is an HP scaling damage dealer, he will definitely have a bunch of HP to work with. So now though, when it comes to teams, I thought real quick we can just go through some Tribbie teams and then also go over some Mydei teams, and then I can give my final thoughts. So when it comes to Tribbie teams, since she is very versatile with the buffing capabilities she has, and a lot of damage dealers can take advantage of her buffs, she can be used on a lot of teams. Starting off with the Herda nicely is able to utilize the buffs that Tribbie is able to provide for the team. Plus, as mentioned earlier, Tribbie will also be able to assist with helping with the interpretation stacks that are inflicted onto enemies, and then also helping with regenerating more energy for the Herda, due to the fact that Tribbie also has AoE attacks. So she is definitely a nice pair when it comes to that. And of course, Herda is also going to be assisting with regenerating Tribbie more energy, since Herda is able to attack all enemies. In the case of the team in general, you will want to pair the Herda alongside another Erudition character. So if you are looking for a more free-to-play approach, you can go with Serval. Serval is an amazing option to consider using. And then from there, I know I have all these sustains on screen, but if you want to go more budget friendly, you can consider a character like Gallagher. But of course, other characters that are really nice can, for example, be Lingsha. Lingsha has high AoE frequency due to the fact that she can take advantage of her skill, she can take advantage of her ultimate. And then of course there is Fuyu, which is her follow-up attack. So because of how frequently she can attack, Lingsha can actually help out quite a lot when it comes to regenerating energy for Herda as well as Tribbie. So Lingsha is a very nice option to consider using on a team like this. Huohuo will be able to grant more energy for the entire team, so that could be pretty useful as well. And of course, you can consider alternative sustains as well. And then when it comes to that secondary Erudition slot, you can of course use other Erudition characters. It doesn't have to be Serval. If you want to use Jade, you can use Jade. You can use Argenti alongside the Herda and Tribbie. That's an option as well. You can use Little Herda. There's definitely multiple options that you can definitely take advantage of when it comes to using Tribbie alongside the Herda, and overall it is a very strong pairing, I would say, just based off my testings that I've done over the past few weeks. Okay, now the screen is really getting cluttered, but another synergy would be Fei Xiao with Tribbie. The main reason for this would be due to the fact that Tribbie, of course, provides the ult-type res pen. Her zone will also assist with the team dealing more damage, but the primary reason is due to the fact that Tribbie does have follow-ups in her kit, and since she does have follow-ups, this is very useful in the case of a follow-up team, since now Fei Xiao will be able to get some more Flying Aureus stacks. If you are using Topaz, this will now advance toward Numbi, and of course if you are using any of the other characters, for example Boba March 7th, whatever it may be, Tribbie is still a very nice pair, as her buffs will be able to amplify their damage output as well. Now of course there is also the option of going no sustain with a team like this, and what you can end up doing, for example, is a Fei Xiao alongside Boba March with Tribbie and Robin. If you want to keep Robin on your follow-up team, but you also want to include Tribbie, you can do this. Using Tribbie alongside Robin in general will provide immense buffing capabilities that you can nicely take advantage of. So that is also a pair that you can consider using with numerous CPS characters. Moving on though from follow-up teams, you also have Aglaya. You can use Tribbie alongside Aglaya, and you can go, for example, Aglaya, Sunday, Tribbie, and then you could do a sustain of your choice. Let's say you went with Huohuo, or you can end up going with no sustain and just having another support on the team, which can be Remembrance Trailblazer, it could be Robin, and so on. So there's definitely options there as well. Since we did mention Aglaya, another lightning DPS you can utilize is Jing Yuan. Jing Yuan will nicely be able to take advantage of the buffs that Tribbie provides. Plus, he also has AoE attacks, so because of that, he'll be able to nicely help with regenerating energy back for Tribbie, especially if you do have a character that provides him 100% advance forward, for example, Sunday. Sunday is one of the best pairs to put alongside Jing Yuan, so you can end up doing is having Jing Yuan attack, Sunday advances him once again, as well as Lightning Lord, and now this results in Jing Yuan attacking very frequently, which now results in, of course, Tribbie gaining back more energy. Another option we have is Acheron, Jiao Cho, and then Tribbie as well with the sustain, or you can go no sustain. You can go with 2 Nihility and a Harmony character, in this case Tribbie, And of course, if you don't have Jiaoqiu, you can consider a character like Pela, who is a pretty nice 4-star option. I have actually done a showcase of Acheron alongside Tribbie. Acheron was also E0 and performed pretty nicely alongside her, so Acheron can definitely be an option when it comes to you using her alongside Tribbie. Plus Acheron also has her AoE centric attacks, which will help out with getting Tribbie a bit more energy. We also have Yunli. Yunli is going to be able to nicely take advantage of Tribbie's buffs as well. I have actually showcased Yunli alongside Tribbie. Very fun pairing, I would say. And of course, when it comes to your team with Yunli and Tribbie, for your additional support, you can end up using a character like Sunday. You can use Robin. If you don't have too many options, you can use Pela, Remembrance Trailblazer, Pingyun. And then for your sustain, you can use a character like Lynx, you can use a character like Huohuo, and so on. And of course, this also applies to a character like Clara. And for additional teams, we can go with Blade and Tribbie. Blade will be able to nicely take advantage of Tribbie's buffs, especially because Tribbie's buffs will still be able to benefit an HP scaling character. When a character is, of course, HP scaling, they won't really be able to utilize the attack buffs that other supports might provide as much due to the fact that they are HP scaling instead of attack scaling. So because of that, Tribbie is a very nice option for characters like Blade as well. And then once, of course, we get Castorice, which while we don't know too much about her officially, I could assume it's more than likely Tribbie will also be a very nice pair alongside Castorice. But of course, before Castorice comes out, I will release a showcase of Tribbie alongside her, and then of course alternative supports as well. But overall, I would say when it comes to Tribbie's value, as I did say in my review video, I would say she's definitely worthwhile to consider picking up. But if you don't really like her character and you already have a bunch of the other premium support, then I can understand potentially skipping Tribbie this go around, just due to the fact that you already have a bunch of supports. Maybe you don't really feel a need for her right now. I would say overall though, especially for players that don't have too many characters, or even supportive characters in this case, Tribbie is a very, very strong pickup in my personal opinion. Now though, when it comes to Mydei, Mydei is a very powerful imaginary damage dealer who is also HP scaling. So because of the fact he is HP scaling, from our current teams that I have tested, currently he is a very, very powerful hyper carry option. You could take advantage of utilizing him with characters that will assist with amplifying his damage output. So for example, Sunday is a very nice option alongside Mydei due to the fact that Sunday is going to be able to provide Mydei crit rate, crit damage, damage boosts, as well as of course the energy from Sunday's ultimate, which will assist with Mydei getting his ultimate sooner, and so on. What I really like playing with personally is doing a 135 speed Mydei around there and then having Sunday be 134. The reason for this is so that Mydei can attack and then Sunday can advance him forward immediately afterwards, and now Mydei can attack once again, which does result in Mydei attacking enemies frequently, and this will also assist with him gaining more charge as well throughout battle, as he will be able to drain his HP once his turn comes up. So Sunday and Mydei is a very powerful pair. You can actually use Tribbie alongside Mydei for those that did pull Tribbie, or considering maybe both of these characters. Tribbie is a very nice option to use alongside Mydei due to the fact that once again he is HP scaling and her buffs will be able to be fully utilized with a character like him due to what she provides. So she is also a very nice option when it comes to amplifying his damage output. Of course though, you can use alternative options such as Remembrance Trailblazer. Remembrance Trailblazer will be able to provide Mydei mem support, which now results in Mydei being able to deal true damage onto enemies. And of course, the 100% advance forward can also be very useful in the case of Mydei being able to attack a bit more frequently now. So you can use Remembrance Trailblazer. Another option can, of course, be Sparkle. What you can end up doing with Sparkle, let's say you had a character like Sunday on the team, for example, just another character that provides the advance forward that he does. What you can end up doing is speed tuning it so that Sparkle goes first, which then she can advance forward Mydei behind her, and then from there Mydei attacks, and then from there Sunday will be able to advance forward Mydei once again, which results in Mydei attacking very frequently as a result. So this can also be a synergy to consider. As for another option that provides 100% advance forward can actually be Bronya. And then we have Pela. Pela will be able to reduce all enemy defenses, which Mydei can nicely take advantage of. So Pela is also going to be a nice option to consider using on a Mydei team. Plus Pela can be another budget-friendly option alongside Remembrance Trailblazer, which if you don't have too many supports and you are running a more free-to-play centric Mydei, you can consider going with Remembrance Trailblazer alongside Pela, and then potentially going for a 4-star sustain For example, a character like Lynx or a character like Gallagher. I actually really do like Lynx alongside Mydei though, due to the fact that Lynx will increase his likelihood of being attacked, which is very beneficial for Mydei to be able to gain more charge. You can also use a character like Jiao Cho alongside Mydei. If you actually want to go with a all-male team, you can end up going with, let's say, Mydei with Sunday with Jiao Cho, maybe going with Luocha as your sustain, or even Gallagher if you wanted to go with an all-male team. But when it comes to Jiao Cho in particular, he will be able to inflict vulnerabilities onto enemies, which can result in Mydei being able to deal more damage onto them. So Jiao Cho can be a nice debuffing option to consider due to his debuffing capabilities. And overall, there are just numerous supportive options that you can use with Mydei. When it comes to Mydei in particular, as I mentioned earlier, he is able to survive fatal blows, which is very useful in the case of potentially going with no sustain. If you did go with no sustain, you would end up using 3 supportive options that can highly amplify his damage output. For example, if you wanted to go with, let's say, Sunday, Remembrance Trailblazer, and Pela, this can be an option alongside Mydei. Due to the fact that he is able to survive these fatal hits, he will just keep going, which is definitely nice in the case of those who are interested in going with no sustain. He is definitely able to nicely take advantage of that as well, which something to also keep in mind is a character like Huohuo. Now, I did make a video about this, and I did mention one of the really big negatives of using Huohuo alongside Mydei. So when it comes to her buffing capabilities, her buffs in general can be nicely utilized when it comes to Mydei's damage potential. I have uploaded a video on this, but I did mention one of the bigger negatives that would end up coming from using Mydei alongside Huohuo would be due to the fact that she can further delay enemies. And because of that, that can result in Mydei potentially not being attacked as frequently, which now results in you getting less charge, and that means you will take a bit longer to get Godslayer Be God. Now, when I did my showcase in particular, I did keep this in mind. So what I would occasionally do is hold my ultimate just for a little bit, since my ultimate would end up breaking 2 of the robots in the first wave when we're talking about the current MOC 12. So what I would end up doing is actually holding my ultimate so I don't end up breaking these 2 robots, so that Mydei can be attacked to take advantage of that additional charge he will gain from losing HP. So because of that, you will have to keep something like that in mind when you are playing him if you do decide to go with Huohuo. I wouldn't say it's terrible to use because I was able to still get a very, very nice clear, but you do have to keep in mind the fact that she is able to delay enemies from recovering their toughness meter, which can potentially lead to gaining less charge from Mydei. But that is still, I would say, an option to consider, but definitely keep in mind of the negative that does exist if you do decide to go with a team like this. Of course, though, if the enemies aren't weak to imaginary, then it wouldn't end up mattering since Mydei can't break them anyway. So that is also another thing to keep in mind. But I did just want to mention how the interaction would go with Huohuo in particular, what to keep in mind, of course. And when it comes to synergy options, Mydei does have quite a few when it comes to, as I mentioned, budget options or premium options. And when it comes to just, I guess, overall value though, which character I would personally recommend a bit more, I would recommend Tribbie a bit more due to the fact that she is a Harmony character, and what we've seen typically from Harmony characters is they have a very nice longevity when it comes to the teams they could be used on and just their value over time. In the case of, let's go with even Huohuo, we can mention Robin here. Even though Sunday is a newer character, he is still showing pretty nice value overall with what he's able to provide for the newer DPSs we've been getting, and of course he is able to nicely be utilized with our older DPSs as well. And in the case of Tribbie, since she does have buffs that are pretty universal, she can be utilized on quite a lot of teams, and I also see her being utilized nicely on future teams as well. I have showcased her alongside Mydei in particular, which she is able to nicely amplify his damage potential if you were potentially considering going with both. But if you only had to pick one, I personally would lean a bit more towards Tribbie just due to the value that supportive characters can provide for an account. But of course, if Mydei is your favorite character or one of your favorites, I would say that it is a very important factor to consider. I would love to know though which character you personally recommend more and why, and also if you're going to be pulling for either of these characters, or if you're actually going to be skipping both of them. I have seen a lot of people say they're mainly excited for Castorice or even Anaxa, so I'd love to know just who you are the most excited for, And I hope you all did enjoy this video, and if you did, do make sure to subscribe, leave a like to support the video, and I hope to see you all next time. Peace.